Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. You know how much we love diving into topics that really matter, and today I'm excited because we're tackling something truly fundamental, something that powers everything you do, particularly as a leader, your personal values.
It's so foundational,
Yeah,
it impacts everything.
absolutely. And we've been going through tons of research articles and really fascinating stuff on this.
Yeah.
And one thing's become incredibly clear. Understanding your values, those core beliefs,
Mhm.
and then actually living them out. That's not just about being a good person, though it is that too.
Right, right.
It's like the secret ingredient,
Absolutely.
to becoming a super effective leader and just feeling really fulfilled in what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah, fully aligned.
Yeah, exactly. So think of this as your express lane, like we're going to get you there fast.
Yeah, cutting through the noise.
To understanding how what you believe in, what you hold dear, can actually create real world impact.
Exactly. And for you, the listener, someone who's all about getting knowledge efficiently and really digging deep, this deep dive is going to extract the absolute key insights from all this research. We're not just going to talk about values in some abstract way. We want to show you how they are, like foundational to leading well, to forging strong connections, and I think most importantly, enhancing your own sense of purpose. Our mission here is to make that connection undeniable.
Okay, so let's jump right in. One of the core ideas that really struck me as we were going through all this is this, that a leader's drive, that fundamental will to be good, to support their team, to really want success, and not just for themselves, but for others. It's not like some magical trait that you're either born with or you're not.
Right.
It's actually deeply, deeply rooted in their personal values.
hmm
Copeland's work really emphasized this. He said that leadership comes from taking a stand for those core beliefs.
Yeah, it's about having the courage of your convictions. And Norhaus really adds to that by saying that act of standing firm on your values, particularly when things are uncertain, when maybe you're in uncharted territory, well, it has a profound effect. It creates stability, a sense of clarity for everyone who's looking to you for guidance. You, the listener, you're seeking clarity, right? And understanding that your values are your bedrock in those moments is crucial.
It's such a powerful thing to remember, especially when things get tough. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, I think. What happens when a leader doesn't actually define their leadership values? Like they haven't really taken the time to figure out what they stand for. What does that look like in practice?
Well, it sounds like we can stumble into some pretty unproductive patterns. We might see what's been described as an avoidant leader, someone who doesn't have that clear direction, doesn't set high standards, and kind of just accepts mediocrity. They're just kind of going with the flow, not really leading,
Yeah, just kind of hoping for the best.
hoping for the best. Exactly. Or, on the flip side, we see the takeover leader emerge. This is someone who dominates, dictates every single thing, and ultimately, without even intending to, they stifle their team's initiative. They end up making the team passive. And neither of those scenarios, avoidant or takeover, paints a picture of a thriving, dynamic environment.
No, not at all. It's almost like two extremes of dysfunction, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
And what's really interesting here is that it's not just about individual leadership styles. This absence of clearly defined values can actually amplify some of the, I guess, inherent tendencies that we see in groups.
Right.
The material touches on how groups can naturally divide, fall into those us versus them mentalities. And a leader who doesn't have that strong ethical core, they can actually inadvertently fuel these divisions, creating more friction than unity.
Oh, absolutely. It's like they're pouring gasoline on a fire they didn't mean to start. And it all circles back to that lack of clarity.
It's like trying to sail a ship without a compass. You're just sort of hoping the wind takes you in the right direction, but you have no real way of knowing.
You're at the mercy of the elements.
Now, the good news is this isn't just, some theoretical thing that we're pondering. There's actual research to back all this up. And Kouzes and Posner, they've done some really compelling work showing that effective leaders, they have a crystal clear sense of purpose. And guess what? That purpose is anchored in strong, positive values. It's not just about having goals. It's about having a moral compass guiding those goals.
Exactly. And what I find particularly insightful about their work is that they don't stop at just saying values are important. They discovered that the leaders who have the biggest impact, who truly make a difference, they actively engage with their values. They don't just think about them. They write them down, they make them explicit. They think about how their values show up in their everyday actions. And critically, they regularly check in with themselves. They do a self-assessment. Are they truly living in alignment with what they believe in? These are actionable steps. Like anyone can start doing this today.
I love that. It's not just some vague notion. It's like, here's what you do.
Here's your roadmap.
Yeah, put it into action.
Exact.
Okay, let's talk about the good stuff. What are the actual benefits when leaders operate from this strong value system? Copeland found something pretty straightforward, but it's so important. They're seen as more effective. It's like people can sense it.
Right.
And the characteristics that kept coming up in his work, things like rock-solid integrity, always doing the right thing, a commitment to ethical behavior, transparency in everything they do, being truly authentic and, just basic honesty. Those are some pretty powerful traits.
And if we zoom out a little bit and consider the bigger picture, as Scott's work highlights, these individual qualities actually create a ripple effect. They foster an environment of respect, they build deep, deep trust and loyalty within a team, and ultimately they lead to a much more supportive and I think ultimately more successful organizational culture. It all stems from those core values acting as the foundation.
It's like the foundation of a house.
Yeah.
If it's shaky, the whole thing's going to crumble.
Exactly.
Now, George, he looked at this through the lens of authentic leadership, and he identified 3 positive effects that really resonated with me. First up, clarity.
Clarity.
When you are acting from a place of clear values, you have such a sharper vision of what you want to achieve. And this allows leaders to define a really compelling purpose and set those meaningful goals, not just for themselves, but for the entire team, so everyone's moving the same direction.
Yeah, and it's not just a random direction, it's a direction with purpose. And the second key effect that George points to is trust. As leaders, we're constantly making decisions, taking actions that impact other people. When those decisions and actions are consistently reflecting those deeply held positive values, things like being driven, taking responsibility, acting fairly, being respectful, supportive, and genuinely caring, well, it creates that deep sense of trust, and it encourages buy-in. It gets people excited about the vision. But conversely, if those values aren't there, if they're inconsistent, it erodes trust, and it can actually lead to resistance and disengagement.
It's like people can sense when you're not being true to yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
And then the third outcome, the third really powerful outcome, is the development of this positive work culture.
Hmm.
Leaders who embody these values, they encourage open communication, participation.
They make people feel safe to contribute their ideas.
Exactly. And they show a fundamental trust in their employees' abilities. They actually believe in their people, and they have this knack for bringing out the best in them. And when people feel truly respected and valued for what they bring to the table, it fuels motivation. It strengthens those bonds of teamwork.
It creates this upward spiral,
Yeah.
everyone benefits. This idea of your values acting as a beacon, I love that analogy because it so perfectly captures how they're that constant point of reference. It's your North Star helping you navigate decisions, guiding your actions. And as the research emphasizes, the link between holding a value and actually living it is strong. If you truly value conscientiousness, chances are you're punctual, you're detail-oriented. If you value tolerance, you're going to work hard to foster an inclusive environment.
It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You believe it, so you act on it. Which really brings us to the idea of leading by example. The research talks about how value-driven leaders take that pause, they reflect, they ask themselves, are my actions actually aligned with my inner compass, with what I know is right? And they gave some great practical examples like being fair in all your interactions, taking the time to explain your decisions clearly, taking ownership, following through on commitments, fact-checking, being diligent, even, and this is interesting, even demonstrating vulnerability, which can actually build deeper trust because it shows you're human.
Right, it humanizes you. What's remarkable about our values is that they're pretty stable over time. Like Sejiv and Rucka's, they found that those fundamental values that we hold, they tend to stay with us throughout our lives. They remain consistent even as we encounter new things and navigate different situations. They use the example of fairness. If you believe in treating people equitably, that principle is going to guide you pretty consistently across all sorts of contexts and interactions.
Like the essence of who you are. And it's fascinating that this isn't just an individual thing,
Right.
It's universal.
Mm-hmm.
Values are found in all cultures. And when you think about it, it makes total sense. They're the bedrock of the norms and rules that allow us to interact effectively, to meet our basic human needs within a social structure.
It's like the glue that holds society together.
Yeah. And then there's this really interesting point about the internal reward. When our actions line up with our values, we feel good. Like it's an intrinsic reward. And on the flip side, if we act against them, there's that feeling of unease, maybe even guilt. It's like, Our values are tied to our emotions. They're like our moral compass, guiding us toward what feels right, proper, true.
Yeah, when you ignore that inner voice, it doesn't feel good. And the research talks about how even when it's tough, when you're facing a really hard decision, you have to do something you don't want to do. You have to stay calm when you're provoked. Acting according to your values ultimately creates good. It contributes to those fundamental human needs that Schwartz talks about, those biological needs, our need to cooperate, and just the well-being of the group as a whole.
It's that bigger picture thinking. It's not just about me, it's about us. And this whole idea of values and our internal guidance system, it really ties into self-leadership, doesn't it? When we're aware of our values and we try to live by them, we become so much better at leading ourselves. The simple act of reflecting on our values, writing them down, it can be such a powerful tool to boost self-awareness and just stay true to ourselves.
Right, it gives us that anchor.
And something I found really fascinating is that there's this strong parallel between our values and our positive personality traits. It makes sense, right?
Yeah.
The principles we hold dear, they often reflect our best qualities.
Yeah.
And that naturally leads to better interactions with the people around us.
Absolutely. And the examples given in the research were so clear. Like caring values, they tend to go with cooperative personality traits, while values like being driven and honest often reflect conscientiousness, that self-control, that ability to achieve goals. So it's like our values are this mirror reflecting back our strengths and positive attributes.
It's like a blueprint for your best self.
Yeah, I like that.
And at the heart of it all, it seems like living by strong positive values isn't just about, checking off some moral checklist. It's about creating a positive ripple effect in the world. When we act in accordance with those values, we're not just fulfilling our own needs, we're encouraging cooperation, we're creating value for the entire group.
We lift each other up. And, the research talks about that positive feedback loop, those little social cues like a smile, a word of appreciation. They reinforce the behaviors that align with those shared values. On the flip side, if we stray from those principles, other people will let us know, either directly, by speaking up, or subtly, through body language, silence, lack of engagement. It's this constant feedback mechanism that helps keep us on track.
It's like the universe is giving us little nudges.
Totally. And as the research concludes, our experiences, our interactions, they shape these values, so we often end up following them instinctively. It's like they become part of our DNA.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the power of personal values, it's become so clear to me that living in accordance with what you believe in isn't just some abstract ideal, it's the foundation of everything. It's the bedrock of authenticity.
Yeah.
It brings clarity to your leadership, it builds trust, and it creates a positive, thriving work environment. Those values, they are your unwavering compass, guiding your decisions, your actions. And when you honor them, there's a sense of fulfillment. You're being your best self, which leads to better interactions, stronger self-leadership.
And to you, the listener, I want to leave you with this final thought. Take some time to really think about where your deepest convictions come from. Those moments in your life that felt undeniably right, unequivocally wrong. How do those moments illuminate your core values? And how can you, in a really conscious way, bring those values to the forefront of your choices every day? Not just as a leader, but just as a person navigating this world. It's a journey worth taking.
Journey of self-discovery.
Absolutely.
And on that note, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See you then.